Welcome to God 101, a special episode of God 101. I'm your host, Julie Chen. It is special because, as you can see, I have the founding member of NSYNC, who also is an evicted house guest from this current season of Celebrity Big Brother. A warm welcome for Chris Kirkpatrick. Hi, Chris.
Thank you, Julie. It sounds so harsh when you say evicted house guest, but I guess
No.
that's on your resume now.
I'm sorry, you're not alone in that company. And we do want to talk about all things Big Brother.
Mhm.
And tonight's episode, which you just saw, this is Friday night. So, spoiler alert, when we start talking Big Brother, if you haven't watched yet who got voted off, then you're going to want to watch this interview later. But first, God. God comes first in my life. And I'm curious to know if you are a man of faith and if you grew up with faith in your life.
I really did. My grandparents were big on that. I'd visit them every weekend, and they were devout Lutherans. So I was baptized Lutheran. I grew up, my grandma was my Sunday school teacher, and my grandfather made the wine for the church. So, they were very, very involved in the church and, raised me the same way.
And would you say that faith kind of stayed as a constant in your life, or did it wax and wane? Because, when you became an international superstar, it sometimes people kind of leave faith on a shelf for a little bit. Did that ever happen to you?
I don't think I left faith on a shelf. I think it became more spirituality than, an actual, going to church on Sundays and that type of thing. And I think that stayed with me. And those core values that I learned as a kid, obviously growing up, I really stuck with them. And again, my mom, my dad, my grandparents were very, very key figures in making sure that I stayed grounded. And with everything that I did, it was always a part of our lives. And it might not have been, praying every night, but it was definitely in prayers, and it was definitely thinking about, myself spiritually and the greater good and the greater God.
Do you think that has anything to do with why you played Celebrity Big Brother with integrity? You're an Uber fan. You know that you don't have to play Big Brother with integrity, but you really stuck to your guns with that. Do you think that has anything to do with being a man of faith?
I think it has a lot to do with it. Probably most to do with it. I think looking back now, it's a game. It was a game, and there were times where I could have done things and been a little bit less, I guess, a little bit shady, and it would have been allowed because it's in the game. But there was just something in me that I felt like walking in, that I'd established that I was going to play it like that. And then walking out, I wish I would have played it a little bit different. I could have candy coated some things rather than, just stuck to my guns like, nope, this is the way it is. This is what I believe, and this is what I'm doing.
And finally, you and your wife have a little boy. He's 4 years old. Is that right?
That's right.
And are you raising him with faith in his life?
We are. We send him. He goes to pre-K at church, and he gets his good dose of the Bible and things that we want. There's got to be that even balance of learning how to interact with people and also learning his spirituality. So we kind of keep it pretty well balanced, and he's at that point where he's starting to ask a lot of those weird, tough questions. And I think answering them is a lot easier when he already has it at school or church.
That's awesome. All right. You saw tonight's Big Brother. Well, first of all, before we get into tonight's Big Brother, because this will give people a chance who haven't seen who got voted out yet, a chance to pause. You have been back home for almost a week now since
Exactly.
getting
Yeah, almost a week.
almost a week. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Well, that's a good question. That there's still a lot I think I need to come back with, and it really has affected my overall life and my family life with my wife and my kid, and that's what I didn't want to happen. I think the problem is I kind of let everybody into my head. And I thought by playing with integrity that I could leave with integrity. And, you get trolls, you get, people that are saying certain things, people in the house that even watching now, it's kind of hard. And, it's still kind of tough, but, I'm a big boy. I can deal with it. I think the only thing I regret is that I'm not completely there yet with my family.
What do you mean by that?
Just that I'm not like completely present like I was before, where it was, hey, everything's fun. Let's go play. Let's go do this. Let's do that. Now there's this kind of hanging over my head a little bit, the stress, and the game's still going on. So I still have to be watching that and up to date on who's getting evicted, who's on the block, who's winning HOHs or POVs. And it's just still, it kind of eats at me and consumes me a little bit more than I thought it would.
Why are you replaying certain moves, or things you wish you had said, or things that you wish you had done or didn't do? Is it kind of like you replaying where you think you messed up your game? Is that it at all?
No, because it sounds crazy. I made one of the stupidest moves in Big Brother history, but I don't think that I misplayed my game. My problem was, I relied on some other people that I trusted or that I gave my trust to. And I think I played that card of me too hard. And I should have, like I said before, should have backed off a little bit and kind of played the game. But there was times where it just felt like where it was going, this game was not a place that me as a human being would be comfortable with. And it got really like dark, and it was kind of crazy.
Well, I want to hear in your words, what exactly are you criticizing about yourself, in terms of being a gamer in the house? What was the biggest mistake, in your opinion, of how you played? What are
I,
you referring to?
yeah, I don't think it was, like I said, I don't think it was how I played. I just think that it was, it was really hard in the house, and you hear it all the time. Everybody's like, oh, when you're in the house. But there was a lot of things that, were coming up, and they were constantly coming up. And it was like, race was brought up a lot. Sexual orientation was brought up a lot. And these are things that, I've never had a problem with. I'm completely comfortable with. But when it was brought up and tried to like used in the game context, it wasn't what I was ready for. Like, it was like, I've never been looked at as somebody that's had a problem, with anything. So when like accusations just to get a rise out of me or see if that I'll react, and that got really hard. Like, it was like walking on eggshells. You really couldn't, say, I couldn't have fun. And I think when I lost the fun in the house, that really, really started to get to me, because the first couple days in that house, I had a blast, and it was just running around and looking at everything and being the super fan that I am. And actually, now that I'm out too, there's other things, talking to Derek and Cody and these people, and they're like, oh yeah, we might come over to the party. And I'm, here I am, world tours, played stadiums and all this, and I'm freaking out that Derek and Cody know who I am, or these other people. And it's a lot of fun, and there's still parts of it that are really fun, but it did get really, really dark, and I didn't like who I became and who I could have become to stay longer in the house.
Well, for the record, I did watch one, sitting here in my glamorous dressing room. I did watch an exchange between you and Todrick, and it felt like you were remaining so calm and really good at listening. And it felt a little bit like he was weaponizing certain things for his advantage in the game. I would like to think he would never do that outside the house. I don't know. I don't know Todrick. I don't know you. But in that moment, I had a lot of compassion for you. And in my humble opinion, I thought you handled yourself with grace, for what it's worth.
Well, and it was really hard, because in real life, that's somebody that you get up in their face and you're kind of like, you can shut it down a lot easier. Whereas in there, it's, cameras are on all the time, and it's like, you don't want to be perceived as this type of person. But if somebody just accuses you and keeps coming at it, you know, my friends have all told me that they really didn't recognize me at that point because, you know, I could do nothing but sit there and take it, because if the minute I lashed out, you know, it would have looked like I had a problem with what he was saying instead of, you know, being compassionate about what he was saying. And that was really tough. And it was hard to react, and it was hard to just sit back and take.
All right. Since Shayna has been evicted from the house, and at the time we're recording this, this is Friday night. She got evicted Monday night. I'm sure the two of you have talked.
Yep.
And what can you report?
I like, that's something else that I feel horrible about, because, you know, a lot of these cockamamie plans that we were doing were my ideas, because I've seen Big Brother so much, and it was like, you know, initially, and crazy as it sounds, you asked Carson about it tonight, but initially, you know, our idea was I was in with Misha and Todrick, and she was in with the other side of the house with Carson and Cynthia. So I was like, listen, you know, you're my number one. She became my number one. For a while, Misha was my number one, but the way in the house, I really trusted her completely. And, you know, she really became my number one. So I said, why don't we play? I'll play on this side, you play on this side. Let's get the big guns to battle it out. And then you and I will end up okay. So we were kind of floating. So when I see all these, you know, because obviously I've been nothing but on Twitter and watching feeds and seeing, you know, everything that's going on, you know, everybody's saying that, oh, I can't believe they did us like that. But we were really kind of playing the middle of the house a bit. But what was understood, I guess, is that we took a stand. You know, we were like, you know what? I don't like the way the one side is playing. Even though I've got an agreement with them, it just seems like they're just pushing everybody around and running the house. And when we say running the house, I mean, it was like, excuse me, everybody would go up to them like, hey, I'm going to make this. Is it okay? Hey. And I was like, this isn't fun. Like, Big Brother to me is supposed to be fun. It's a game. You know, even when whatever was said or personal stuff, you get mad, but it's a game. So we just kind of decided at that point, let's make it more fun, because we were having a blast with Carson and Cynthia, and let's make it more fun and shake up the house, jump over onto that side, and then draw the line there and just battle it out. But I kind of knew that if we took Carson down, if we didn't take Carson down, I was afraid that whoever went up, they'd still vote Carson out. So even though I think we had the numbers, but there was like some, you know, iffy, because poor Chris Kattan, I don't think he really understood the game that much. And I know he wasn't doing well in there, and it broke my heart. But we didn't know, you know, what he would do or which way he would vote and who they would take off. If they took Mariah off, which way she would vote. So, you know, we kind of backpedaled from that a little bit and just kind of said, all right, let's just take Carson off. Once we do that, I said, I have a feeling, I know if Misha's smart, what she's going to do. And I had a really good back and forth with Misha. And, you know, I still care about her. I love her to death. There's friends of mine and family that don't think as much, but, you know, I was in there. I know her. I know at least the way she played with me in the game. And she was always honest with me. So I felt like if I'm not honest with her, then I'm losing everything that I believed in. So I had to be honest. And when I was honest, I'm like, that's it. I just signed my eviction notice.
Oh, well, it's nice to hear that you can compartmentalize. You know, I saw how you were like, so, you know, you were fanboying out when you first saw Misha Cupcake Tate. You were like,
sure.
no way.
Sure.
It was sweet to see that. And yet it sounds like you can separate her moves as a competitor, and you still want to be friends after all is said and done.
Yeah, of course. You know, I have respect for her. You know, I've respected her gameplay, even though I think she had somebody in her ear that the gameplay I didn't really care for that much. And I think that's where she kind of went off, because I really think that if we would have made a big move on my HOH and put them both up, that it would have been hard wrangling her back in if we got rid of Todrick, or if we would have got rid of her, obviously. But I think that if she would have been in there, she would have recognized the honesty and integrity that I was trying to play the game with. But by putting her up, that would have been thrown out the window. So it was a catch 22, and it was just kind of like we just had to. I think we were really upset that we didn't put them up on my HOH, and we were like, well, we're not going to sit around and be picked off because that one side just had too many guys floating around, like Todd, Lamar, you know, guys that were just kind of like thought they knew what was going on, but really didn't know what was going on. And there were times where, you know, talking to them, they were ahead on the totem pole. Like, you know, I had straight up conversations with Misha where she's talking about a Final Four with me, her, Todrick, and Lamar. And I was like, you know, Shayna hasn't even been brought up. So that's when I went to Shayna and I'm like, listen, they're not protecting you at all. And this isn't something that if her and I are going to continue in the game together, the separating sides can't work. Her and I have to get together and make a stand. And we did. And here I am from my house.
Did you know Shayna Moakler before Celebrity Big Brother?
I did not. We have some friends in common, but I didn't. The only person I think I've really even met that was in the house was Chris Kattan, because we've done SNL back in the day, and he actually presented an award with us, and I follow him on social medias and stuff. So he was the only one I really knew. I knew of Todrick because there was rumors that he was in the house. I think he let that cat out pretty early. And other than that, I don't think there was anybody else in the house that I'd ever really even met before.
Do you think you formed any lifelong friendships as a result of your time in the house?
I think there's a lot. You know, I really care about everybody in the house. I don't care about some of the tactics that they pulled, but it's a game, and I knew what it was coming into it. And I think that's why, you know, today and now it's still kind of buzzing with me a little bit, because it was hard to separate reality and a game, because the game is who you are and your persona interacting with other people in their persona, but it's not. It's an avatar of them, and it's the avatar that they want to win the game. And you don't really know if this is a real person until you kind of get out, because believe it or not, one of the people I've been talking to most since I got out was Teddy. And she's one person that I really wish things could have been different. And I wish that me, Teddy, obviously Shayna, and even Carson could have gotten in on a 4. And I don't think anybody could have stopped that 4.
Carson is very trusting. Are you sure you want him in your 4?
I don't think, I mean, we're all very trusting. Carson's very believing. Like Carson.
Gullible. He's very, and he's a newbie. He doesn't know the ins and outs of this game.
Oh, that was one of the most difficult parts, is especially, you know, Shayna said it a lot too, that it's hard to play the game when you're spending half the time teaching the game to someone. And it was just really difficult explaining. Like, I still don't think Lamar knows the game. Like, I think Lamar is just kind of, you know, he could be not on the block and think he's going to get evicted, but Lamar actually is really, really funny. And, you know, there's a lot of people. Carson and I, you know, had a lot in common, and he was talking about his horses and bringing my kid. He's got a place a couple hours from where I live. And, you know, so there were a lot of people that I could really see. Obviously Shayna and Teddy, you know, I could see. And Mariah was sweet too. There was a lot about her that I can tell that house really got to her as well. And of course, Chris Kattan.
So Lance Bass, you know, fellow NSYNC member.
Yeah.
What has he said to you about watching you play this?
I think he kind of said what everybody kind of says, in that you're an idiot. Like, who backdoors themselves. No, he's been really supportive. It's been awesome. It's crazy because he was the one going into it that I think I told the night before I actually went into the house, because Big Brother's actually bonded Lance and I for the last few, maybe 10 or so years. My wife has a lot to do with that, but Big Brother had a lot to do with that too. And we both play our little mock drafts, and you get to pick, you know, players and who's going to win. and drinking games where when everybody says blood on your hands, or the typical sayings that you have to take a drink. So, that kind of bonded us a lot. And it was cool because he really had a lot of questions. He was like, when I'm going back to LA, obviously this next week to see everybody, and we're going to have a little party. And I know he's just going to bend my ear all night, ask me questions about what was this and what was this like. And, I'll be like, it's nuts.
I saw that on social media. So it's true that you and Lance Bass are having a Wednesday night after party at Rocco's.
That's
So
right.
what happens at this after party? Is it going to be like every Celebrity Big Brother house guest that wants, everyone gets invited? If they show up, they show up. Like, tell me about it.
That's what I was hoping. I want to be friends with every former or Big Brother house guest, Celebrity Big Brother house guest. Like I said, I know people come in saying they're super fans and stuff, but I mean, we fall asleep to the after dark. I mean, it's crazy that just, because you just wait, what did they just say right there? Or who's got the key around their neck today? And okay, we already know this is happening. So, I mean, it was kind of neat being able to watch those after darks. And now with Paramount Plus and what they're doing with the whole, the online and seeing all the after hour stuff, because it's as close as you can get to realizing that it's not just when there's HOH competition, POVs competitions, or blow-ups in the house that you have to interact with the other people in the house. And, when you're just walking around, somebody that is totally gunning to get you out, you're like, hey, I made some extra nachos and cheese. You want some? And, you kind of step away a bit in the game, and it's kind of crazy, and it's kind of fun to watch, and it was fun to be a part of.
I have an insane question.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances? We all know Justin Timberlake is the holdout, and you would probably, the rest of you would all go on tour if he would be, okay, let's do it. I don't think that's going to happen. But if the rest of you were willing to go out on tour without Justin Timberlake, is that a likely thing? Has it been talked about? Or is it all or nothing?
It's probably about as likely as me going on Celebrity Big Brother All Stars again. Yeah, there's been a lot of talks. There's just, not a lot of seeing eye to eye, and that's just not in the cards.
Meaning creative differences of the four of you other than?
Yep. Well, there's always been creative differences between the five of us. All five of us have always had different ideas. And I think, when you look at it, you've got five guys that are all thinking their direction on what they think the band should do or where the band should go. And, that those don't always cross. And especially when you have five of them, it's hard to focus all five of those. And, it's just too difficult right now.
I say never say never. I like that you said it's too difficult right now.
Well, I have to. I mean, I have to say that because I don't want to be eating crow if something happens and the next thing you know, we're on tour and everybody's like, "You said never," and I'm like, "Well, I guess we kind of agreed."
I was fascinated to hear you talk in the Big Brother house about before you put together In Sync. You spent some time being homeless.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't something that we talk about that much because up until just recently, it's always been embarrassing and like a part of your life that, you don't really, you're not proud of. And I don't want it to reflect on my family or my mom, because my mom had such great values in how she raised us and how, she did everything for us. But I think that kind of added to another dimension of the Big Brother house, because there were a lot of things that, you would hear them yelling and talking about and how this was important. And, I think it was difficult when they just kept looking at me as this like little rich white boy that, was privileged his whole life. And then he's in a boy band and blows up. And now he's on Celebrity Big Brother, just wanting to get his way and all these things. And, it was absolutely nothing like that at all. In fact, it's to the point where, the NSYNC days were almost like a dream, and it was almost like, it was too much to believe. Like it was so unfair and so like why me? Why did this happen to me? What's there's a lot of more people that are deserving than me. But it was the way I was raised, and again, my mom instilled amazing values in me and my four sisters, and I think we all ended up great, and we're still as close as we've ever been our whole lives, and that's testament to how my mom raised us.
Well, at the top of the show, you said you are a child of God, you have faith in your life, and who knows if that was part of God's plan for you to, um, walk in that path before you did hit it so big with NSYNC. God has a plan for everyone. That's one thing I know.
Mm-hmm.
Not our will, but His will.
Mm-hmm.
In the final moments, who do you predict is going to take home the grand prize? Not who do you want, but who do you think's playing the best game?
I think Misha, only because Misha's won all those HOHs. She's won a lot, and she aligned herself with somebody that had a great social game, because her social game was lacking, and I almost got in trouble with her for trying to explain that to her. But it also got me another reason I got kicked out of the house, because there were times where Misha and I'd be in the gym together or something, and I tried to explain to her that I had her back. Like, I don't think she understood that even when Shayna and I had that agreement together, that Shayna even understood how much I was indebted to Misha. That I was like, I just, whatever we do, I just can't get Misha out, and I got to protect Misha and everything like that. And so, in those little times, I would be like, listen, I'm like, you have to be really careful, because you're aligning yourself with someone who's making a lot of enemies by getting into a lot of different alliances, and your social game stinks. You're up there, you're just hiding out. We're down below. Everybody's looking at you as this, crazy HOH ruler. And when you come downstairs, life's going to be different, and life's going to change. And you're going to see that, you just won the first HOH. There's nothing special to that, but you have to continue to win. So, I kind of tried to coach her along in that way and say, you can come around me and know that you can trust me. And again, that comes down to that whole gameplay we had, where Shayna and I kept saying the one side of the house was like everybody, and this side of the house was Cynthia and Carson. So why not pick off that whole other side of the house, not Misha? I think she got threatened and didn't understand that I wasn't gunning for Misha. I was gunning for everybody around her. And by doing that, I affected her game so much that I had to go. So I'm hoping that Misha, can stay in it till the end and be one of the final two that we get to vote on, because she would definitely have my vote. I actually really like the way Todd's been playing too. Todd plays this. I don't even know how you describe it. Todd plays this like all-knowing.
Like older statesman almost.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you something, kid, about this business.
He's an all-knowing, clueless person. It's kind of endearing, and it's fun, and seeing him, and he's I've actually had a really good friendship with him, but I think he got caught up a bit too in the whole whirlwind of Todrick and Misha that was going on. So if Todd's there, I'd kind of like to see Todd, and if Lamar's there, I mean, that's gonna be humor, because I think Lamar could be Big Brother's biggest funny floater of all time. I mean, it was just, he hasn't had any gameplay. He hasn't won anything, but he's been fun, and he's been funny, and he's been great to hang out with. So, maybe he's a ninja assassin in there or something, and he's like playing this game that nobody in Big Brother history has ever played, and maybe it'll work for him.
Who knows? Well, I'm glad that you said yes and played it. I hope you are glad that you gave it a try.
I hope so.
No, please.
No, I am. I am a super fan, And I would have been kicking myself forever if I didn't at least go in that house and try it out, and definitely get to experience. And sitting here doing these chats with you are almost surreal, like I'm like in my television or something again. But it's my kid. My kid, who's 4, has had a lot of crazy words for me that I don't understand how he even understood what was going on as much, but he really did. And it was funny. It's funny to have him just like throw something out, and I'm like, how did you know that? Like, if he says daddy backdoored himself, or things like that, it's like, how do you even know what you're talking about right now? So maybe I'm raising a new generation Big Brother fan.
Hey, we'll hold a spot for him in the house. So when
Oh
you
no. I
okay,
couldn't do that to him.
okay, fair enough.
I'm kidding.
Final seconds. Can anyone go to this party at Rocco's? People who are like, wait, I live in LA, I want to go. Is there like a ticket price or something?
No, I don't. I have no. Lance just sent me a flyer for it, and I know Lance, being the super fan he is, that he always has a party there. I think after the episodes of Big Brother end. So I'm nothing special to him. I'm just another person from Big Brother that gets to hang out with him.
I love it. Well, you've been a joy, Chris. Thank you so much. And just God bless you and your son and your wife, all your loved ones. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Right back at you, to you and your family, Julie.
Thanks. God bless everyone. We'll see you for another special episode. Who knows? Expect the unexpected. Bye for now.